Yeah, well, I have a quite an interesting story behind my arrival to Canada. I came from Ukraine in 2004, applying as a student in computer science at Ryerson University. And for the few years I studied, getting my degree, and then after that, I worked as a software developer in a number of financial companies. And that was all in Toronto, Canada. But my passion was all about space exploration, and I had the dream of doing something substantial, and that was, for a long time just a dream. But I got an opportunity to, try and feel the real chance to do something. Starting in 2011, I went to 100-year Starship Symposium organized by NASA and DARPA that was in Orlando, Florida. And I presented my vision on, space exploration, interstellar travel, and it was not exactly a breakthrough uh, presentation, but it got me the first taste of being in this area. I worked it, and then I thought of, I should be trying it for real, and I didn't know where to start, so I decided to do it by the book. Do my master's degree in astronautics and space engineering, which I did in United Kingdom at Cranfield University. And that I applied in 2016, and I studied there for 2 years doing my master's. And that was, the first, serious step in my lifelong passion. So I completed degree in 2019, and at the very last months of my studies, I founded my company, Exodus Orbitals, together with a fellow students. Well, my original idea that I would work for a few years in aerospace industry and then found the company. But after all, I decided not to wait for too long, and found the company as soon as I would get the opportunity to be in the community of the fellow students who are interested and passionate about space exploration. I would say that was the plan, to get into the place where there would be more than one person interested in what I'll be doing, and then found the company, and then we'll see after that. I would say the inspiration was long before I applied for any university program. The inspiration was when I was like maybe 12, and by 19, I thought I would be, doing something in space. I didn't know what to do, and I got a feeling that founding my own company would give me the freedom of pursuing uh, the ideas I would be, coming up with. Yes. At Exodus, before we stuck to what we are currently doing, we tried a number of ideas like small scale rocket or some kind of satellite bus. But at the moment, and when we founded the company, we didn't know what would be our idea to go forward with. So that took a bit of time, and we reviewed all of the upcoming satellite missions and see what concept wasn't in that list. And what wasn't in that list was an idea of using the satellite as a platform for software apps, as a market for software applications. That was, came after a while, after reviewing all the ideas or, concepts out in the industry. Well, we're developing a way for the people to write code or software that can be run directly on the satellite onboard computer. And the satellite, if you think about it, it's a little bit like a smartphone, like an iPhone or an Android phone. It has a CPU, it has a camera, it has a radio, and all of that can be offered to the developers to create an app that would use the satellite for a while, create some kind of application inside, or execute some business logic. And for the time being, the satellite where the app is running on will be developers or the user satellite exclusively. So every person on Earth could get access to an Earth observation satellite or an astronomical observations, or satellites capable of astronomical observations, and use it as he would see it fit, and create a new application domain, a new platform for software apps. Like we have mobile apps, we have desktop apps, we have web applications, we have embedded. All of that first appeared not as one big cloud of applications. It was at first a playground for people to explore their ideas, a playground for software developers to create something interesting or fun or useful, or even occasionally useful. The same thing is possible in space domain. You create a playground for software developers to explore the ideas or to express themselves, and some of those ideas can be actually useful either in commercial or non-for-profit settings. This is what we are building at Exodus, a playground for software developers, and later on an application market for everyone to use the satellites in much. Well, initially we will be using other people's satellites. We'll be providing the tools, the development tools, the control, and the pipeline to develop and deploy the software application to the satellite. And then in the future, we can definitely build and create a customized satellites optimized for this mode of applications. But right now, we're using someone else's satellite. We'll be leasing satellites, CubeSats, from other companies that already expressed interest in participating in this platform. Well, the first and the most immediately useful are applications that process imagery data, applications that process the images that satellite cameras can take. What they do, the images can be processed in a way that enhances certain features. They can be compressed. Objects can be extracted from the imagery. Changes over the specific area can be detected and produced. Those kind of applications are in demand on the ground, on Earth, and those kind of applications are already being developed for a variety of types of imagery. And those images can be just visible light, can be done in infrared spectrum, can be done using multispectral or hyperspectral cameras. But the imagery there's a lot of data that satellite can create, but not all of the data the satellite can offer for download. So the application that sits in the middle processes the data and extracts the most useful bits of this data is the one that will be the first one to run on the satellite. Well, right now, after we have overcame a few challenges, the most difficult one is the fundraising, explaining to investors what we do and why what we do is the next big thing in space is the toughest challenge. We kind of figured out how to engineer the thing, and that was the earliest and the easiest task. Now we have figured out how to do the sales. We can sell what we're trying to build. Marketing is the next one, but right now it's also kind of takes shape how we want to advertise ourselves and what we want to present. But fundraising is still the toughest challenge. A lot of investors, kind of difficult for them to grasp because we're building something that sits in between two different areas, space and software, or uses both. and it's not exactly a space company, but not exactly a software company. It's an extra challenge to pitch to the VCs what we're building. Well, I kind of can tell what's will be the obvious next step. We want to have, a few early apps on one satellite, targeting next year, generate some, revenue from that, prove the concept and the business model actually work in space, as well as, you know, building all the building blocks and tools. And then we want to scale up. Once we have one satellite, one app, one customer, where everything actually works, there is very little, I would say, not as much effort to scale it up from 1 to 10, from 1 to 10 customers, from 1 to 10 satellites, and in the same manner from 10 to 100, and from 100 to thousands. And we can absolutely build a platform that will support hundreds of satellites, thousands or tens of thousands of different apps, and millions of users of those apps, and make the space as accessible in everyday life as we have with mobile and web development. So scaling up is, our priority after we get our first customer apps running on the satellite in space. So we are starting as a B2B company. Our early clients are the companies in space industry and geospatial information systems that are already using satellite data and they want more capabilities. Those companies are kind of on the smaller size. They can execute quickly. They have some interesting concepts that they want to try in space. So the first few apps will be from that group of companies. But my vision is go after every software developer in the world, be it like Joe with a laptop in a cafe, or be it a corporate development team in companies like IBM or ExxonMobil or I don't know, Boeing, that are interested in developing the customized apps for the industry area. In the end, it's a bit like, again, with mobile apps, there's apps that are developed by one person and used by millions, and there are apps that are developed for a very specific use case in a corporation world by a team of 100 people, but maybe used by 20 people. So both will apply in space as well. So right now we have two immediate sources of revenue stream. Is the license for the software development kit we are selling, just like with Adobe or other development tools. We sell the license for you to allow you write those apps for space, and that's what actually we can sell right now. We have the first sales agreement and done, executed. And the second and much larger source of revenue is the time that the application is running in space. We can sell that time to a development team by the minute. So if your app needs only 1 minute of satellite time, it can run for 1 minute and we can charge you for 1 minute. And if it needs like hours or months of uptime, we can definitely sell you that. So we sell the satellite capabilities by the minute to the customer to run their apps. That's the major revenue stream for us. Well, we are pretty far. We tested our software prototype in space with help of European Space Agency mission. That's on the engineering side. So that already happened. On the sales side, we sold our first SDK license just recently. On the fundraising, we went through the business incubator and received our pre-seed check. So made at least from 0 to 1 step. And right now, which was a major challenge to us, is raise enough money to have the full full-time business full-time team on the engineering and sales side. So we are pretty far along the track, much farther than many of the other space startups in the industry that are 5 or 10 years away from first revenue. I would say we're 1 year away from offering our service on wide availability to everyone. And in terms of space industry, that's pretty fast. Again, we're executing as fast as a software company, not as slow as aerospace company. We are a software company in space, one of the first ones that are 100% software oriented. We're developing satellite as a service platform where the hardware, underlying hardware, is behind the scenes, and what our users and customers will see, it's all software. Turns out engineering is easy, and even easier than I thought. But business, sales, marketing are harder than I thought in terms of developing the business. So myself, I come from the technical background, and if I want things to work my way, I get it done. But for me, building a business operations, that part of the company was a tougher challenge than literally developing a product that would be able to run on the satellite. Rocket science is easy, like sales is hard. That's lesson learned. Computers are easy to deal with, and humans are harder to deal with. A lot more unpredictable, and different things, different buttons to push to make things work. Yeah, that's another rather trivial lesson. Myself, I work it as a software developer. You press a button, and things happen. You cannot do it with people. You need to do it other, more subtle way. How about building your own space mission and flying or pointing the satellite where you want it, and not just watching other people do it? It's a whole different experience. I had to feel myself when you are in the control, or you are the guy that flies the satellite. This is something I want to share with rest of the world, or at least with as many software developers I can get a hold of.